Leah, thank you so much for being with me, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world.
Thank you. You too, Amy. Angela.
I was recently going through my photos and I came across this photo um, of a text that I sent you on Tuesday, November 17th, 2015. And it was a picture of my mom and I together
In her bed.
in her bed reading
My book.
Troublemaker. Yes. And I said, "Hi, Leah. Mike just sent me your number. This is my cell phone and my email." And I say what it is. And then I say that my mom cried when I relayed your message from Twitter. She's so thankful that you're standing up against disconnection. And so I had sent you, I saw you on Twitter and I thought there's this message option. And I wonder if I sent her a message if she would see it. And so I was in the worst time of my mom had, just been diagnosed with cancer and everything. And we went through a whole terrible disconnection situation. And you were starting to speak out about that. And so I wanted to tell you our story. And so I sent you, I wish I still had a copy of what I sent you, but I sent you our story.
I probably do. I probably have it, Amy. I have to look for it.
That would be something.
Yeah, that's
And
good. All right, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, and then you answered. And I was starstruck.
For you? That's funny.
Was so happy that and you were so gracious. You sent me a message right away apologizing for not having contacted me earlier. And I'm like, oh my God. And I told my mom and she was so excited. And then the first thing you did, because knowing her situation, was send a shoot crew team up here, up to
Well,
Seattle.
well, what happened was I after I had heard your story, I was really touched by your mom and your story. And
Yeah.
I was like, I remember when my grandmother was passing away, she wasn't a Scientologist, and we didn't go through any kind of horrible disconnection stories like you guys. But I had always wished that I had just gotten my grandma on film because,
Yeah.
she was just, she's an Italian and she lived in Little Italy and she wore house coats
Oh,
and a house coat is almost like an apron, but
yes.
zips up. And that's for the younger folk who don't know what that is.
I know
She
what it
she used to hand that out to like my friends when they'd come over, and I'd be like, I was like, just put it up. I always tell people like, don't ever say no to my grandma's food
is.
because I don't care if you've eaten, you have to eat it.
Yes.
As soon as you say no to a Sicilian, that like she pulled me aside after I had given this, rule to my friend Sherry. She was like, "Oh, thank you, Mary." And my grandma was like, "Okay, nice." And then she goes like this to me and pulled me in her bedroom. She's like, "What's the matter with this girl?
Oh no.
What, she thinks that what? My food's not good. My plates are not clean, or whatever." I was like, "No, no, no." She literally just ate. She was like, "And," so I pulled her in the bathroom and I go, "Just say, I changed my mind.
Hmm.
Some macaroni and a pot roast and fish and pasta. Like it just didn't end."
Yes.
But anyway, that story just to tell you that I regret not getting this genius of my grandmother. And so I was thinking about your story and I was like, how do you tell people, what's going on in the world of Scientology? And here's one mother and daughter out of hundreds of thousands who have been forced to disconnect from their family. Maybe this one story, and I knew not where this would go. I didn't
Yeah.
have a show. I just thought I would hate to not have you and your mom have this story because your mom had said
Mm.
to me, "Don't let those bastards ruin another." And then she was like about saying bastard, and I was like, "Oh,
Yes.
me." But anyway, she was lovely, right?
Yeah.
And ruin another family. And I thought, I just don't want. Uh, I want to find some purpose in this, right? And I
Hmm.
had read Frankel's book. I don't know if you've read it, Amy, but
Hmm.
The Meaning of Life, Man's Search for Meaning of Life.
I did read that.
And I was
Hmm.
like, it just, we all have to find some purpose, and our brain
Hmm.
just kill us and eat at us.
Hmm.
So I call you back and I go, does your mom want to, put this on film? And you're like, let me call you back. And, I expected to hear from you in a week. And like 5 minutes later, you called me and said, my mom is it.
Absolutely.
My mom is it.
It gave her purpose right at the time when she's just suffering. It was so bad. And it gave her purpose. And when you sent the crew out, and it even had a little makeup artist on the team, and she got all dolled up with the scarf and makeup and hair done and stuff like that. Anyway, it gave her purpose, and she was able to speak out and say, and it wasn't just a video crew. You actually did the interview with her
Yes,
via Skype or whatever,
yes,
Zoom.
yes, yes. I just found your mom to be so courageous
Hmm.
in disagreeing with the policies of Scientology of disconnection,
Yeah.
and that you had that time with your mom. And I say this all the time, not certainly not all family, right? Like my father was quite abusive to me and my sisters
Right.
my whole life, and um, but you guys deserved to know each other
Hmm.
because you're two good people who loved each other.
Loved each other. Yeah.
Yes, and you had beautiful 10 years together without Scientology in your lives.
Hmm.
And then your mom had you uh, by her side when she needed you the most, and that's when she was in hospice. And
Yeah.
that she did this in hospice,
Hmm.
where she really had no energy, but you wouldn't know it.
Oh, she was so exhausted afterwards, and people had to
Yeah.
change her, and the whole thing afterwards. But she mustered up the energy.
Amy, how many times did I say, we could stop now? We could stop now. And she's like, no, no,
I know.
no, no.
Not until we're done. Yep.
That's right. And
Yeah.
again, I had no show at this time. I didn't even know what I
Right.
was going to do with it. And,
Yeah.
I've said it, and thank you for saying thank you on social media. And I'll
Oh,
say
big
it
time.
again. There wouldn't have been an aftermath if not for your mom and you. You
Oh
were
my
the
God.
inspiration for this docu-series because every at this time, and I think you'll agree with me, Amy, that people thought of Scientology as this kind of like innocuous little uh, cult that wasn't really hurting anybody, and
Right.
Tom Cruise acting a damn fool as he does, jumping on couches and calling Matt Lauer glib and
Hmm.
attacking everybody. Um, and people just thought, oh, that's kind of like a Hollywood thing. It's not really it's devastating families,
Oh my
devastating
God.
families. And this is just one area that we were focusing on. There's
Oh
many
yeah.
areas of Scientology that are criminal. That that's why it was a program that could have gone on for 20 years.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So um, uh, yes, and in her memory, that you continue to speak out um, says a lot about you and your mom.
Well, boy, I have so much gratitude to you because you took, just that little bit of love and then spread it worldwide. So, and I
Well,
have, we have,
listen, your story and your mom's story, Bonnie. When we when we were talking about the program of doing a docu series exposing Scientology's criminal behavior, um, they of course wanted to bring up Xenu and crazy beliefs of Scientology.
yeah,
And it wasn't until I said, listen, I need you guys to review this story. This is one of many. And I'm not interested in talking about Xenu or Scientology's religious beliefs, where, it's definitely hurting the person, but uh, I felt ridiculing would only kind of look back on us as, well, why are you in it? Why were you in it for so long? And
Yeah.
to show that it's actually not cute, not something that shouldn't be paid attention to, I didn't want to do that. And it wasn't
Yeah.
until they reviewed the footage that they go, we had no idea, right? And that
Hmm.
we had no idea. We had no idea. I mean, people still ask me questions about Scientology that I'm like, have you not seen Going Clear? Have you not watched The Aftermath? Have you not, listened to the 10, read the 10 books that ex-members have put out? Have you gone on the internet? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like dealing with Scientologists over here. Like, do you not look at anything and do any homework on what this organization's been doing since its inception?
Yeah. Right.
Yes, and of which did you, yeah, okay. I wanted to talk to you about those policies, but also the
Mhm.
policies of what we're dealing with today, right? Because we know
Yeah.
there's current trial going on with alleged serial rapist Danny Masterson, and the procedures of which, as you well know, because you were a high-ranking Sea Org member. Um, the procedures of which, what happens when such a report of I was molested by a Sea Org member or another Scientologist, what happens?
Yeah. And what happens is it's squelched. Everything is turned over to OSA. It's taken off org lines. Any information about it is hidden from, general staff and certainly not the public. And anyone speaking about it are silenced and put through a handling, making them feel that they're the ones that caused it, because in Scientology, you are responsible for your condition. No matter what happens to you, you caused it. And so it happened to me. That was one of my first introductions to Scientology at age 14, when a man who was about 35 years old raped me. And it was, statutory rape or whatever.
Wow.
He was married and he was a course supervisor at the mission that I was at. And the first thing that they did was, I guess he must have told somebody, because I certainly didn't say anything. I was scared. And so I was assigned a lower condition, treason to the group.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah,
You mentioned a few things that some people, I don't know who's watching this. I don't know if
yeah,
they're non-Scientologists.
right.
But let's talk about what the Sea Org is. You were a Sea Org member, which means you were part of the paramilitary part of Scientology, which means
Hmm.
that you signed the billion-year contract, you gave up your life, you live communally. Scientology pays for your medical bills, which really doesn't consist of much because they don't believe in doctors, and give you uniforms, feed you, and you have zero life as a civilian. So it's,
That's right.
wearing military uniforms. Scientology likes to pretend they're in the military, and yeah, it's kind of like watching people now. When I see the pictures, Amy, of like all of you in the Sea Org with the
Yeah.
caps and the lanyards, I'm like, oh my god, like it's like what, like it's just playing this dress up. It's like Halloween over here,
It's
like,
ridiculous. It's an
and to be
embarrassment
impersonating, people, brave men and women of our military.
that work so hard to get the rank and rating that they have, and years of in combat or whatever, and we're wearing stripes up our arms. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that
Um,
was my life from age 16 to 42, and this rape occurred as a staff member. I was a full-time staff member in Bellevue, which is by Seattle, at age 14, and I joined the Sea Org at age 16. So at age 14, I was a staff member.
right. And the other thing that I want to talk about is uh, it is pretty much conditioning of children from the begining of the time that they can understand concepts, right? I mean, L. Ron Hubbard says that major actions could be doing, of Scientology could be done at the age of 5.
Right.
So Scientology children, civilian children, um, learn these concepts very early on. You're a big being.
Oh, yeah.
You could have been my mother or father in another lifetime. And then you learn, if you can't read, you'll have somebody in Scientology telling you this, but there's no victims in Scientology. The word victim is a very bad word.
Yeah.
If you are raped, like Amy was, like many children were and are in Scientology, they will then put uh, you on the Scientology lie detector. You have to hold these cans,
Mm-hmm.
and while an interrogator is sitting there blocking the door so you can't leave, and you are told or asked, coerced, suggested that you are not a victim, that you did something this
Mm-hmm.
lifetime or another that resulted in this now happening to you this lifetime. And they will
Exactly.
force confessions out of children
Yeah.
to
I mean,
say, I was a cave person, maybe. And they're like, yep, that. And they're looking at the dial, and you're like, oh, so it's true. Yep. LRH says, believe in the meter. And the meter says that, yep. See, there it is. There it is. And
I've
that's
been
why
so mentally abused that way my whole life, starting as a kid.
all of us, yeah,
So yes,
yes,
it's so damaging. It's terrible.
it's criminal. It's criminal.
Yeah.
That children would be exposed to this sexually explicit
Mm-hmm.
training and being forced to admit to things they never did. As a matter of fact, if a child has a problem saying things, sexual things, the interrogator, the Scientology auditor, will then say things to the person, to the kid, like disgusting things.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever see a blah? Did you ever touch a blah? Did you ever lick it? Like disgusting,
Really
disgusting.
bad. It's the
Yeah.
murder routine. I mean, I had a hard time talking about any of that kind of stuff, and I had the murder routine used on me, and I
Why
just
don't you
couldn't.
explain what the murder routine is?
Okay, so as an auditor, if the person that's sitting across from you is having difficulty saying something, you there's a thing called the murder routine. You give them examples of things that are so horrendous that makes their thing look small, and so they'll confess to you what theirs is. No, I didn't rape the person, I just masturbated, or something like that. So they finally can confess it because you were telling them all these things that were so horrendous,
Right.
which isn't what their situation was. Anyway, it's called the
Right.
murder routine as a
Right.
way of coercing somebody to cough up what they did.
Also, another conditioning technique of Scientology, which is still being done today, is phrasing, rephrasing, coming up with its own nomenclature. So I'm pretty sure that incident that happened where you were raped was miscategorized purposely as what they call out 2D.
Oh, yeah.
And huh?
Yeah, that's what they
Yeah,
called it.
it'll. As a matter of fact, Amy, I think Scientology even created a website on you claiming that you went out too deep, right? So it made you look like you were the aggressor. By the way, we when you did our program, when you did the docuseries,
Mm-hmm.
what asshole lawyer sent us a letter? Do you remember that where they said that? So we, of course, every episode we would write Karen Powell um, and Scientology saying, this show is coming up. We'd like to talk to you about, Amy being raped by this person. We named him, and
Mm-hmm.
we'd like, because we know it's in your folders, right? Because everything in
Yep.
Scientology is written down and put in your Scientology folders.
For
Um,
your whole life.
yes, your whole life.
Yeah.
And they wrote back, I'll have to get a few, Amy. So maybe
Mike told me when it happened, he said, "Can you believe that what Scientology sent to A&E was that as I was a 14-year-old, he was 35, but I was the aggressor. Amy was the aggressor."
yes,
And so therefore, what I'm saying is not true. Therefore,
It's insane. It's victim shaming, and it's going on all over
yeah,
social media. People need to know what rape is. Uh,
right.
'Cause,
Out to
yeah,
D. Oh
people who
gosh.
are not rapists don't have sex with 14-year-olds.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Okay, so
Um,
now this person, I just want
yeah,
you to know, his
yeah.
name was Daryl. This person went on to become a serial child rapist. Now he was a staff member, and he was, even after this incident with me, was promoted to ethics officer in that organization.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get in trouble. It gets miscategorized intentionally as L2D.
Hmm.
Now this guy is in charge of other people's morals
That's right.
and their personal ethics. And
Yeah.
this man was a serial child molester.
Yes. Now it the one he actually ended up going to jail because it was his 8-year-old niece and his brother, after breaking his leg or his arm or something like that, had him arrested. But so that's how this type of guy that was on staff there and covered up by Scientology. The
Right.
incident was covered up. If they would have dug into it and treated it how it should have been treated, the guy would have been in jail a long time ago. You know,
Right.
I
However,
even after I heard, I'll just tell you, after I heard this from Mike that they were saying I was the aggressor,
yeah,
I was like, oh my God, Scientology. So I found out that where this person lived, it was in San Jose or something. So I drove all the way there with my husband because I was going to get him to put in writing what actually happened so that I could shove it up somebody's butt.
so you really
Anyway,
thought he was going to confess?
oh, he would have. I would have just, you know, I would have made that happen.
Okay.
But anyway, but he, he had just moved into hospice because he had cancer or something like that. But anyway, so I missed him. But that's how I was like, they're getting away with their. I know people don't believe them, but they still are getting away with just spewing all these lies when there's so many crimes that are just being covered up by Scientology.
Correct. So let's go back to the procedure. So
Yeah.
you are made responsible. You are then they then categorize this as you're being out ethics, which means you're uh, um, doing something that's not optimum,
Hmm.
uh, and you are probably then put to do. You're penalized with what's called conditions. Would be kind of like in the military. Being like on the decks, right? Like you're being assigned, like you're no longer like an officer or whatever. They're pulling you
Yeah.
down as a group member. They're saying you're not in good standing with us. And
Do
so
amends. Yeah.
then she has to do amends. And then
Hmm.
she's being seen by the ethics officer, which is the punishers of Scientology.
Yeah.
And they make her realize that she's responsible for her rape as a child.
Right. Yeah.
And this is standard operating procedure. Amy is not the exception, but the rule.
Hmm.
And these things are law. These are not things that Amy interpreted or anybody interpreted. I think that you're not supposed to go to the. These are laws in Scientology. If
That's
you
right.
report to the police, you're doing so. When people report, Scientologists report to the police, they have decided I can no longer be part of this group.
Hmm.
So, Scientologists who have been convicted are usually from wives of or husbands of who decided either A, they weren't Scientologists before, or
Hmm.
they decided they don't want to be Scientologists any longer and are accepting now that they're going to get attacked, stalked, followed, and their lives destroyed
Yeah.
via their fair game policies, which uh, I didn't know this even until recently, Amy, that there's an actual over 1,000 pages of an actual course that someone can take, like a course, to
Hmm.
learn how to destroy whistleblowers of Scientology. I had no idea. People keep thinking fair game is one policy. It's thousands of policies. That one fair game that keeps getting disseminated is like one of thousands of policies.
It's not going to change. It'll
Well,
never
it won't
change.
change because there's policies that say L. Ron Hubbard's policies are not to change, and
Hmm.
also L. Ron Hubbard's policies are to be followed to a T. It's not assimilating information. It's not, oh, I think this means this. It's what, it's studied 2.5 hours a day minimum, both, for civilian Scientologists and for employees of Scientology. We all learn the same thing. But when there's like specialized courses and specialized Sea Org only confidential materials like this course that I'm telling you about, which is called the I forgot what it's called, um, the OSA Network Investigators Pack or
Oh,
Hack.
okay.
Have you
Hmm.
seen it?
I've seen the OSA network issues. So I've probably seen the material that's in there.
Yeah, it's pretty substantial. I mean,
Hmm.
and it's when I looked at Tori Chrisman's fair game, the operation that was done on her, and who's a former Scientologist, but also she used to attack people who were whistleblowers of Scientology.
Right.
Marty Rathbun, before he left the Sea Org, he had grabbed that because he was working on her destruction. And
Hmm.
when you see these orders written out, these are from Scientologists, how to plant a person in her business. Well, it goes off of the other policy, counterattack tactics from L. Ron Hubbard, which says draw up, 3 areas, find out what the person seeks to protect and go after that.
Go
Um,
after it.
you could certainly cost them their job. That's what he
Hmm.
says.
Hmm.
And what they put in there were things like Tori seeks to protect her health, knowing that she was sick. She has a real button on being healthy. A button, Amy, on being
Oh
healthy.
my God. Like she
So
wants to survive.
yes. Um, then they said, go to the computer person and try to get into her computer, and then go to plant a person in her business, then have that person say that she was coming on to them or being inappropriate,
Hmm.
then have
Hmm.
that person go to her boss at her business. So this operation was, 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Right.
If you go back to Paulette Cooper
Oh
at her
my gosh.
Business Bureau, the IRS, the programs are the same. Gabe Casares, the former mayor of Clearwater, the
Hmm.
programs are the same because the policies can't change. It's what they're doing to all of us now. It's what they're
Yeah.
doing to Jane Doe's in the Danny Masterson case. It's what's going to happen if anybody comes forward,
Hmm.
goes to the police, goes to the FBI with credible information about criminal activity going on in spiritual Scientology. Immediately, OSA will then draw up these plans for that person, and it won't
Exactly.
end.
And it won't end. And the thing that just drives me so batty is there's no justice. These judges that are sending people back to the cult for
Well,
arbitration, you know,
yeah. People ask me about, arbitration, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
it never
They
existed.
say,
Never been
Scientology
done.
arbitration. I'm going to say it again. I don't know what you're talking about because there is no such thing. Stop saying the word because there is no such thing. And they think
Exactly.
I'm being a smartass. And I'm like, I'm not going to say the word because it doesn't exist. Understand what I'm telling you?
Exactly. It pisses me off so much. They've never had an arbitration. It doesn't exist. There's no policy on it. They're pulling it out their butts. And then now it's some sort of official thing that judges are sending people to. And it's like sending somebody back into the lion's den or to straight into the hands of your abuser. I mean, Valerie escapes in a trunk, and so she tries to sue them, and they say you have to go back to them to get
There is
justice.
no there is no arbitration.
I know.
why any lawyer in these cases doesn't say, Judge, I'd love to send my client to a real arbitration. Have them produce it to you, have them produce this arbitration, and we'll review it.
Mm-hmm.
They can't produce everything in Scientology is written, but nothing. I mean, how to feed your baby, how to give birth to your baby, how to wash a window,
I know. Painstakingly, every
how to
aspect.
infiltrate real churches. He actually says that. How to ally yourselves with real churches. Uh, and they have
There's
nothing in front.
nothing.
They have, when I tell you, millions of pages of writings that everybody has to go to the book and look for the thing that references the thing you're asking about. They got to go to the books. They got to go to the books. What does the book say? What does the thing say about that? What does it
Mm-hmm.
say about this? What is it? But they don't have their arbitration process when they have every other process known to man.
That's why it pisses me off so much, is because, I mean, it'd be one thing if there was something, but still, there is nothing. They're making it up, and the judges are going along with it because
By
it's
the way,
just like,
Mike Rinder has a written affidavit that says that I created this with the lawyers for this very reason.
oh man, oh man, yeah,
Listen, the lawyers got to smarten up. The judges have to smarten up.
yeah, mm-hmm.
Everybody has to smarten up. They have to understand. And Amy, I know you dealt with this. I deal with this. Every lawyer I talk to, DA, they all think they know more than they do is the problem.
Yeah. When you get such a creepy cult, when their policies direct them, so they're so predictable. They're going to attack. They're going to destroy. They're going to lie. They're going to lie. I mean, there's even TRs, training routine drills, TRL, which is training routine lie. It teaches you how to give a quote unquote acceptable truth or a lie in order to, handle some sort of bad situation.
It says it right in the TRL drill that, again, anybody can see it. The purpose of the drill is to train the student how to not answer a question successfully.
Yep.
I mean, I shouldn't quote it because I actually don't know this, but
that's what it says. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you're trained on that.
And thousands of policies how they're anti-government, anti-religion, anti-law. We have our own laws that are superior to WOG law, WOG juries, WOG police, WOG this. And I marvel at every time I see pictures of the LAPD, Hollywood, division at their events, smiling.
Oh,
you have no idea what they really think of you. You have no idea how you're being used, like the little that you are. Right?
yeah.
Like,
they just write checks all the time. They constantly are writing checks to the police department.
Well, they're doing it through the Police Activities League, which doesn't have a great reputation right now here in Santa Monica. But yes, and Corey Polka, who is the captain of the LAPD Hollywood Division, you could look him up too. A bunch of emails between him and Scientology that I had no idea about, which was just exposed. And we're still running around wondering if they have a cozy relationship with Scientology. It goes far, way back, and it goes way up. And it makes us, if we didn't believe, Amy, that one day, sometime soon, that justice will be served. Whether it's in this trial, it's in God's hands, right? But also, I just believe that something's got to give. This evil can't go on unchecked for much longer. And we wouldn't be doing this if we thought there was no hope.
No, exactly. And I mean, I pray about it. And honestly, on my heart, what I hear is justice is coming. Yeah. And I mean, and I feel it to my bone. And I don't know how that's going to represent or present itself, but I just know that justice is coming. And so I just keep, keep the prayers going and keep speaking out and exposing the truth, because and telling the authorities and whoever else will listen. Does anyone who will listen, I keep talking to. So
Same. I mean, anytime
yeah,
I meet somebody, they say, "How can I help?" I go, "Do you got a cousin somewhere, a sister
right.
somewhere, works with the IRS?" Like, and that's the other thing too. People keep saying like, "Why are they not doing anything?" And it's not for lack of trying.
Yeah, no, definitely
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
I mean, I spent days with the FBI, and
Same,
I don't know how many hundreds of hours spoken
same,
out, and yeah,
same, same. All
I
of us
know,
have. All of us
yeah,
have. We just don't talk about it. We don't
yeah,
talk about it because we hope to get justice. We're not trying
no,
to get clicks and shit. We're trying to get things done behind the scenes that we don't
yeah,
talk about. And
uh,
there's things been going on for 10 years that we're not talking.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so, but we got to keep trying. We can't
yeah,
give up. We have to have
that's
faith,
right,
like you said, Amy, and
mm-hmm,
we got to keep praying for
yep,
these brave people and whistleblowers, and for people who are not even involved, who are just reporting, are getting attacked by Scientology. So this is not limited to just Scientologists. This is
yeah,
anybody who supports whistleblowers and victims of Scientology. They
mm-hmm.
they don't care.
Yeah. I mean, like somebody came out a couple days ago. You know how on your show you had a private investigator that was that blew the whistle on what they were doing. So this was another girl that this Dwayne Powell private investigator got pregnant, and
Yeah.
he made her get an abortion. But she said the different things. She was on, myself and Matt rented a house right next to us, and followed us around. They went through hundreds.
Tax exempt money, everybody. Go ahead.
That's what my point is. That is what Scientology is spending their money on. So here is a religion, quote unquote, that the IRS granted tax exempt status. And how they spend their money is by silencing people, attacking people, putting private investigators on people. This is how they spend their money. And
And
that's what
they
they're
admit
enabled.
the private two private eyes said they got paid $10 million following one person.
Yeah, Pat Broker.
So the problem is that the IRS knows this is going on
Yeah.
because the criminal investigation department, when Scientology went to get tax exemption, the agents who were on the case said no. We are being followed and harassed by these people. For that reason, we're saying no, this is not a tax exempt organization. But it was the IRS commissioner at the time who was pussy, and he's the one who bowed down to David Miscavige. And
Yeah. Apparently there was like
he's the
two.
person to thank for every
Yep.
action that has happened to people since.
Yeah, on his shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there was something like 2,000 lawsuits filed against individual IRS agents, and David Miscavige said, you give us tax exempt status, those will turn off like a faucet, and
Mm-hmm.
so they gave in,
Yeah.
and it's so disgusting. I mean,
But that's why the IRS is not doing anything because they
right?
did it. They did
They
it.
did it. They're the
So
ones who did it.
and by the way, I've even asked for meetings with the IRS,
Have
hoping
you?
that there were new people involved, but they denied a
No.
meeting. They don't want to hear it because they don't want to take the shit that they took from Scientology. They're going to leave it all up to people like us to receive that, and the Jane Does and any other victims who are brave enough to come forward.
Right. Yeah.
But again, Amy,
Yeah.
keep fighting, keep
Yes.
talking, keep right,
Yes.
keep on because
Yeah.
eventually, like you, I feel it. I
Yeah.
feel that something will be done about it.
Yes. Yeah. Because truth will prevail, and it will be exposed, and justice will be done.
Yes.
Justice is coming. It just rings in my whole being. And so, yes, I don't know how it's going to appear, but I welcome it.
And to
Yeah.
all of you guys, watching, do what you can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You talk about it, you expose them, you whatever you can do. Everybody has, their circle of influence.
Yes.
So everybody just supporting people who are coming out is huge.
Yeah.
So thank you for that support, and let's keep on doing what we're doing.
Yes. Good. Well, thank you so much for being with
I
me
love you,
today, Leah.
Angela.
I love you too so much and miss you too.
I miss you. I'm sad that you moved away from me.
Yeah, I know. The other
Me
side of the
too.
United States, but
But I'll see you soon.
yes, for
Nice
sure.
little visit and cocktail.
Yes. Okay. Love to you.
All right.
Bye.
Love you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.